why don't you start with the thing?
Well, the thing is that this was announced initially years ago as a Dracula's Daughter reboot, and then they
Mm-hmm.
later walked that back and said it was going to be more of its own thing. But there has always been that question in the back of my mind of, is this somehow going to be a Dracula movie? And I'll just say it's not.
It is definitely not, and you can definitely see like, and again, we're interpreting here. We weren't there. We didn't write the movie, but like, it looks like this was indeed that type of thing where Dracula was going to show up at the end. Should we get into spoilers? It's been out for a week, and I think if you really wanted to see it, you probably would have by now.
Yeah, this is the only spoiler we're going to talk about. Everything else I'm going to leave out.
Sure, that's a good idea. So, not Dracula shows up at the end.
Played by
It's
Ozymandias.
played by Ozymandias, which I looked him up. That's the only thing I personally know him from.
I've seen him in a
Um,
couple things. I've seen he's in a movie called Stoker, which is pretty good.
oh, I thought that was a Dracula, and then I had to click it, and it was like, no, it's not about Bram Stoker.
No, it's I watched it because it was a Park Chan Wook movie, but that's it.
Hmm. Yeah, no, he's a very talented guy from what I've seen, and he's great in this for the scene that he has. But this is clearly this is he was gonna be Dracula, and they just like were like, you know what, let's just change it to like this random name instead.
Yeah, we have
And they
two. We
still,
have, it, I wonder if someone at Universal is like, we just had two Dracula movies last year and they both bombed.
yeah, but it's not like it's in the marketing or anything.
No.
Plus, they also left it open to make him Dracula because he said he went by many names for a long time.
Yeah, and I
So it
thought he was going to
sounds
say Dracula there for a second, and then nope, they just didn't
hmm
continue that line.
yeah, exactly. They just didn't put it in. I wonder if it was always there, never there from the start. They took it out late in. Maybe it was always like that. I don't know, but it feels like it was gutted of the Dracula name drop.
Hmm.
So I don't know. As far as the movie goes, I liked it. It's one of the better Universal Monster remakes, if I had to clarify, like genreify them.
Yeah.
It has some really dumb human characters.
Yeah.
Like I liked the human characters, like they were
Yeah.
likable, but like the decisions they made, man, it's like, god damn, like it's the horror movie problem of like why on earth when you know that this is the situation would you do this and go there and talk to that guy?
There's
Like I
literally
don't.
there's literally two scenes where
Uh,
they're like, let's split up and do it that way, and it's like, okay, okay, Scooby Doo.
and then there are scenes where like characters regress. So like Joey, the main girl, is talking to Abigail, and by the end of the conversation, Abigail kind of reveals that like she's evil. She's like, "Sorry for what's about to happen to you," and she drops like the act, and it's like a oh shit moment. And then later on in the movie, she goes back to Abigail. Abigail starts again playing as if she's like a small child who's just dumb, and then Joey just buys it. And I'm like,
Well,
"Did you not? Like, were you not there?"
well, how I read that scene is that she was interpreting Abigail was telling them that her father was going to come after them.
I don't know, man. I feel like even a brain dead moron could look at that scene and go like, "Wow, that girl is not sincere and genuine." And then, of course, she's gonna say like, you know, "Oh, that guy's the bad guy," because it's like the
Oh
most
yeah,
obvious "let's turn them on each other" situation ever. It's like, which one should you trust more? Think about if Dan Stevens really was the bad guy in that situation. Not yet, anyway. Like, would anything make sense up to this point? No. What if the girl is the bad guy? Everything makes sense.
yeah.
So, like,
It's dumb because that's one of the problems I have with the movie is that she immediately blames him, and I'm like, so he killed that one person, and then like Olympic sprinted back to the other side of the house,
yes,
like it's
yes,
Army
big
Hammer
Olympic
and Death
sprinting.
on the Nile.
I killed everyone everywhere whenever I felt like it. But yeah, no. So there's some questionable things. I didn't like how, like, I don't buy that Dan Stevens just suddenly hates Joey after becoming a vampire, because like they were like kind of frenemies, you know, kind of not really like that mad at each other. Maybe they'd have like an angry line at each other. But then after he gets bitten, he's like, "I'm gonna make you kill your kid in front of you" or something, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, this isn't the same character, you know? It strikes me as like out of nowhere. So I don't know.
It was
There's
a
a lot of
little.
this movie that's
It was
just
still good. I
strange.
had a lot of fun watching it. It did what it needed to do. It's had a
Yeah,
couple.
I
It
agree.
was mainly smallish kind of problems here and there.
I agree. I'm kind of listing the only problems that I had because, like, or generally speaking, because everything else is pretty enjoyable. It reminds me of Renfield. It accomplished what it wanted to do. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, in that sense, I think it did all right. It aimed to be like a small scale, one
Hmm.
location type of horror movie, and it had a vampire twist, and that was really fun.
These directors have done a similar movie about being trapped in like a mansion like this before, so.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Ready or Not is kind of similar in that sense, but they're very different movies. The one thing I thought was actually kind of cool in a universal sense was how they kept, bringing in the Swan Lake music.
Yeah, I noticed that like from the start of the movie, and I was like, which is that the Mummy, the first Mummy that was in?
It's in the first Dracula, the first Mummy, and Murders in the Rue Morgue, I think is the third one.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere, baby, and that's like, oh, it's harkening back to those classic movies. Like, I appreciated that.
Yeah,
quite a bit. That was fun.
I was expecting that from Renfield because there's a scene in the trailer for Renfield. It's not in the movie, where Renfield's moving like Dracula shit, and there's a vinyl record of Swan Lake, but it never gets played. You don't see that bit in the movie. So I was like, oh, come on. But then this,
but it's funny that he has that.
Yeah.
That's funny that like just the idea that Dracula likes to listen to his own theme music. That's exciting. But yeah. So I don't know. Because again, this is a quick review, not diving super deep into it. I would probably say like a 6 or 7 out of 10, right in that realm.
7 or a soft 8, maybe.
It's just full of tropes. Like, I don't know. Like there's just a lot of like classic, conventional, modern horror tropes. Like right when the movie gets started, there's that scene where Angus Young, rest in peace, is like fake scaring that girl, but like the movie plays.
Oh yeah, that's
is Dracula gonna come out of the corner? Oh no! And it's just this like I'm trying to scare you because I'm being funny.
Okay,
and, like that's in every single like conventional horror movie ever.
Very
made.
Awkward that the first guy in the movie to die is the guy who actually died.
Yes, that's very sad. But it follows the classic horror convention of like the least morally good person dies first, and like the most like moral person doesn't even die. Joey stays alive. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it was enjoyable. If you're into that kind of like horror movie stuff, give it a watch. It's definitely not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's been a decent year for horror so far. If you skip the Blumhouse movies.
Yep, and the Blood volume was very funny. Like it's a dead serious horror movie, but when sunlight hits the vampire for like half a second,
they go,
her
boom.
hand just blows up.
You do anything to a vampire and they go boom.
Literally anything, like a ray of sunlight, like reflected from like a silver tray for an instant, touching just your face, your whole body, just blood bomb. It's a bomb of blood hit the whole house. It's like incredible. Like, oh my god. It's gotta be the most instant and violent reaction to sunlight that vampires have ever been in media.
Yes.
Maybe ever.
I'm sure there's some versions of it where it's pretty extreme, but I've not seen every vampire movie.
That's true. I have, sir. So
probably the least extreme is in the Werner Herzog version of Nosferatu, where Dracula gets touched by sun and he just kind of goes and falls over.
I've only seen the classic Nosferatu. I've heard mixed things about the quote remake.
The remake's pretty good.
Interesting. I'll have to watch the remake before I watch the remake.
Yeah, do a trilogy review.
It is a trilogy of one film, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Damn.
And then there's there's the weird meta movie about making Nosferatu where Willem Dafoe plays the vampire.
I love that stupid movie.
Shadow of the Vampire is so good.
It's so good, and Willem Dafoe is killing it.
Oscar-nominated performance.
As it should be. What the hell won that year? What beat him? Come on.
I don't know.
Ridiculous.
2000 movies that well.
I'm looking it up.
Look it up.
I'm looking it up right now. But in the meantime, talk about Abigail for like 1 second.
No, Abigail, it's just a fun time. Like, you're not going to regret watching it if you do. It's a good vampire movie. It's one of the better ones out there.
Traffic? Sorry. Benicio del Toro in Traffic.
Oh, that makes sense. Traffic was big at the time.
Traffic was big. It makes sense because he's popular and stuff.
Traffic's really good.
Bad. I like Traffic, but like, no, Willem Dafoe deserved that easy. Come on. But whatever. Oh, and Joaquin Phoenix and Gladiator that same year also lost.
Oh, yeah.
Traffic.
Well, you being the Gladiator fanboy.
I know, I'm the biggest fan.
I love Gladiator, but
Willem Dafoe still should have beaten Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes.
I'm just saying. But whatever. All right. So, Anything else about Abigail, or are we going to move on to the main?
It's straightforward. I think it's cool how it's like an update of like the old Dark House kind of movie, which is also a Universal film, but of like people in like a mansion staying the night. Like
Yeah,
it's a
I
very
haven't seen that one.
classical. There's even an Agatha Christie reference to "And Then There Were None," which was pretty cool.
It's like a plot moment too. It's not just a
Yeah.
reference. But
It-
yeah, I appreciate that, and I haven't seen that movie, Old Dark House, but I've seen like the 1920s ones, like Cat and the Canary and
Ooh,
stuff.
yeah, no, Old Dark House is it's James Whale directing, so it's pretty good.
Sounds good. Yeah, I gotta check it out. But yeah, I don't know. I appreciated it for what it was, and I probably won't watch it again, except for the commentary that eventually we'll have to do.
Oh.
So
Are you
we'll
going to
get there.
include this in Monsterthon? Because it's not really.
Yeah. It's a Universal vampire Dracula's daughter inspired loose thing. Yeah. So, I mean, the definition has always been broad. It's like 17 different franchises all together, kind
All
of.
those Scorpion
So-
King movies.
Every single one, don't you know?
I still
yeah,
haven't seen
um,
two of those.
How dare you? First of all, how dare you?
I'm going to be sick if you ever want to do that episode.